Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Dee-Licious Kitchen. It's your girl Dee. Today I'm going to be making some open face apple cinnamon pastries. I was actually supposed to be making apple turnovers. However, I bought the wrong puff pastry, so I made the best of it, and it actually turned out pretty good. So stay tuned to see how I created this. Okay, so here are the ingredient you're going to need. And when I tell you reading is fundamental, let me tell you, it is fundamental because it clearly said puff pastry shells on the packaging. However, as soon as I saw puff pastry, I didn't bother looking any further. I just grabbed it and I started moving. Okay, so I am peeling about 4 to 5 Granny Smith apples. And I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance. I did not use any measurements. I really eyeball this recipe, and you can kind of get an idea, and you can adjust the sweetness to your level as well. Yeah, this is actually my first time making this, and it turned out pretty well. It was actually a hit, and the kids actually requested that I make it again. Okay, so right here, I'm just going to use my apple slicer. It was the easiest way I could figure out to get the core out of the apple. I'm sure there's a better way, but I just go with the flow a lot of times in the kitchen. So there you have it. I am just getting the core out, and I'm going to attempt to hand cut all of those apples. And I do suggest if you have a fruit processor, don't be like me and, be lazy and not want to take it out because of all the different parts and you got to go dig it out of here and there. Just go ahead and take the food processor out because it's going to save you some time and aggravation. Not so much aggravation, but it's going to save you some time. Okay, so as you can see here, I am creating a mountain of apples, of cut apples, and you want to cut them fairly small. So I am taking time. It's really kind of relaxing. I know this would be tedious for some folks, but I kind of like that. I'm just sitting in the kitchen, chop, 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 But if this is not your thing, like I said, pull out that food processor. And also cutting them this small allows them to cook a lot faster. Okay, so in a saucepan, you're going to melt 1 stick of butter. I have a lot of apples, so I'm using 1 stick. If you want to cut this recipe in half or reduce the amount of apples, you would probably only need maybe about a half a stick or maybe a few tablespoons. Right there, I'm just adding some cinnamon to the bunch. And like I said, I'm not measuring. I'm literally eyeballing everything. So forgive me. Okay, so at this point, you're just gonna give everything a nice stir. Make sure all of the apples are coated in the cinnamon, and uh-oh, there you see I forgot to cut a piece of apple, but I'm gonna get it. Trust me, I did notice that. You see that? Okay, so you're gonna continue to mix and make sure everything is covered in that butter, the cinnamon, and yeah, make sure everything is nicely incorporated. And also always add a pinch of salt, even though it's a dessert and it's sweet. A tiny bit of salt will actually enhance all of the flavor. So I did add maybe about a half a teaspoon of salt to this recipe. And right there, I'm adding my light brown sugar. And I added about a cup. Like I said, if you're using less apples, use maybe about a half a cup. Or if you're using more apples, you can use a little bit more. Right there, it's just simmering. The brown sugar has melted into the butter and the cinnamon, and everything is coming together really nicely. Okay, so here is the mistake that I made. I actually bought puff pastry shells when I was trying to actually buy the puff pastry sheets because I wanted to make apple turnovers. But you know me, I made the best of it and I created a delicious dessert. It can be used for breakfast, brunch, it could be used as a dessert. These apple cinnamon pastries that I created, ooh, my goodness. I'm telling y'all, no exaggeration, they were delicious. Okay, I'm actually glad I made that mistake to purchase the puff pastry shells because it forced me to get out of my comfort zone and use something different. And these puff pastry shells, you can actually turn them into something savory. You can add some kind of cheese to it. I'm already thinking of creative ways that I could use these puff pastry shells in the future. And also, it's so versatile. You can make it savory, sweet. I'm really feeling these puff pastry shells. Okay, so at this point, I'm just about done filling my puff pastry shells, and I'm going to prepare them to go into the oven. And it's gonna bake on 350 for approximately 20 minutes. Okay, so here's my open face apple cinnamon pastry puffs. I guess that's the name for this. I don't know. But here it is out of the oven, like I said, on 350 for approximately 20 minutes. And here I'm attempting to make a glaze. I did not allow my pastry puffs to completely cool down. Therefore, my glaze didn't give the effect that I wanted it to, but hey, it still gave the flavor. So right there, I have about a cup of powdered sugar, and I'm just slowly adding some milk. You can add cream if you like, or some people would add water, but I'm using some whole milk, about maybe 3 tablespoons, and I'm just kind of adding as I go until I get to the specific thickness, excuse me, that I want. And there you see it right there. It's coming together nicely. Okay, so right here I got a pretty decent consistency. It's a really nice consistency. It would have been nice if I had allowed my pastry puffs to completely cool, but you live and you learn. I'll get it next time. And I do have a piping bag. However, I decided to use a little sandwich bag and add my glaze to it. And there you go. I was trying to go for a nice drizzle effect, but because my pastry puffs weren't completely cool, the glaze just melted into the puff. So it had the nice flavor, but it didn't have the nice effect. And it's okay, you know. And that's my little guy, always in my shot. But, what can you do? You have kids, they're going to be kids. But there I'm attempting to have like a nice little cute pastry drizzle. And it just didn't give me what I wanted. But it happens. Just move on. Okay, so there you have it. Here's the end result. It doesn't have the pretty little glaze. You know, like how apple turnovers have that nice back and forth glaze on it. That's what I was trying to go for. It didn't happen, but the flavor was still there. I went ahead and garnished with some mint from my garden. And there you have it. Some apple cinnamon puff, open face apple cinnamon puff pastries. And that is my little guy there attempting to get some more whipped cream for his. And that's the way I serve them. And it turned out pretty good. So there you